So, Mike, I have a question for you.
Ask away.
What got you into comics?
I always thought that drawing comics was something that you just did. As a kid, I used to get the British humour comics, the Dandy and the Sparky, and I'd look at them and go, okay, I'll do that, and draw my own little versions of the comics. It was a while before I realised that not everybody drew their own comics.
So, like, you're still very passionate about comics.
Oh, yeah. No, I think telling stories in pictures is just the greatest thing, so I still love doing it.
So, you've worked on a lot of famous comics. You've done DC, Marvel. Like, out of all of them, well, which one do you think was your favorite to work on?
Oh, that's a bad question. Because at different times, different projects. I think for Marvel, I really enjoyed doing the Star Trek stuff. There was a chance when I was working on those books I was going to move over to do some superhero stuff, but that never happened. I ended up going back to DC and working with them on some of their books. I did a run of stuff for DC using the TSR properties, so Dragonlance and Spelljammer and all that stuff. That was a blast, because I like to meet dragons.
Yay, dragons! Alright, you worked on a lot of heroes too, like Batman,
yeah.
Doctor Who, even though like he doesn't really fall in the Justice League category kind of thing.
No, he's a bit of a grey hero.
Yeah. So, out of all those heroes, which one was the hardest to work on, in your opinion?
Do you know what? It was the one I really, really wanted to work on.
Which one was that?
It was Superman.
Superman?
I really, really wanted to draw Superman. And then when I drew Superman, it was like, I've drawn Superman.
You just...
Okay.
So it's something like this? Life goal accomplished.
Yeah, and that was it. Whereas Batman, I was like, Batman's okay. Drawing Batman, it's like, oh my god, there's a whole world here I can play with. And it's this whole thing. It's one of my daughters always goes on about, why do you have a Justice League when you've got Superman? Basically, this guy can do everything. The other guys are to make coffee.
Batman's just like, so, you take it flat. Same way they had it in Smallville. Here you go. Thanks for saving the world again.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, and that's a lot of my problems with the DC universe. Is you do basically have God and everybody else.
Like, yeah, Superman, he's definitely OP. Especially like the Silver Age comics, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Sneeze and there goes the galaxy. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I wonder how many lives that just extinguished now.
Yeah.
So, another question. You obviously, I said this, you've worked for major companies, DC, Marvel, but like, what do you do in your free time as a comic artist?
I draw. That's what we do. We just draw. You've got to understand, this isn't a job. This is a medical affliction we get paid for.
I think that's the best answer I've ever heard. Out of all the heroes you've drawn, which one do you think you relate to the most?
Okay, Peter Parker.
Peter Parker?
As a kid, I was a specky little git. I got beaten up at school. Peter Parker was my hero. He was somebody that was exactly the same as me, had the same problems getting a girl, getting any kind of respect. But he got to put on, the red and blue leotards and swing around the city. But at the end of the day, he still didn't get the girl. He still didn't get the respect. And it was just like, yeah, I know this guy.
It's like, I hate you, JJ.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was a genius of Stan Lee's, though, is that by making the superhero the secret identity, because if you think about DC, the secret identity is the real person. They are, Batman pretends to be Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne died in that alley.
Yeah.
There's this empty shell of hate that lives and grows that's Batman that then pretends to be Bruce Wayne. Superman is this alien that pretends to be a mild-mannered reporter. Whereas Marvel characters are guys and girls that then get powers and then still have to relate to their ordinary lives as well as saving the universe. And I think that's what made Marvel so great. And it's probably what makes me more of a Marvel fan than a DC fan, even though, ironically, I've worked more for DC over the years.
Like, myself personally, I agree. Spider-Man, like, for me, is just like one of those heroes you can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very relatable hero. It's a very enjoyable hero, because he's more human,
Yeah.
I think. and all the rest. Like, you got Superman, he doesn't know what it's like to be, like, an ordinary human. He, like, he's pretty much a god, basically.
Yeah.
And, like, in Screw Attack, they had Goku from Dragon Ball Z versus Superman.
Yeah.
Superman whooped him, no problem, hands down.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't he?
He's like Superman.
Yeah.
Alright, so, another question. Who is your overall favorite hero to draw?
I'll go with Spider-Man again. That costume is genius. What Jack Kirby came up with and what Steve Ditko finessed, and then what John Romita finessed, is a fantastic design. I mean, I think that if you look at the way Superman now looks, they've got rid of the pants, but they've still got the red belt. Superman's symbol is getting larger. I think eventually that's going to grow, and maybe they put some webbing on it, and it'll be a Spider-Man outfit.
You know, at one point, Nicolas Cage was actually going to be in a Superman movie.
Yeah, I've seen the photographs, and I wish I never had.
Oh my god, moment! Like ripping out your eyes kind of thing?
Yeah.
Right. So, I could probably answer this question. What got you into the comic industry? Like,
It was, I grew up in a small town called West Bromwich, which is outside Birmingham in the English Midlands. And the only person I knew that had ever left West Bromwich and done anything was Wyatt Earp's dad. And look how that worked out. I love comics. There was a little market in the centre of the town that I go every Saturday, and I'd buy my comics and just think, oh, you know, it'd be great to do this, but obviously it's never going to happen because I live in West Bromwich. And it's that small town mentality. You just think, no, this is I'm going to end up working in a library or working in a shop somewhere, and that'd be fine, that'd be great, and you know, I can draw in the evenings, and that'd be okay. And then I read an interview with John Byrne in, I think it was Dave Kraft's comics interview, where he said his family came from West Bromwich. They moved to Canada, but they came from West Bromwich. John Byrne was born like 5 miles away from me. And when I found that out, I just thought, hey, that's it, you can do this. You know, this is incredible. And that actually spurred me, that one thing. And it's absurd when you think about it. If somebody was born near me, therefore I can do that too. But it was that one thing I'd never, that sense of perspective I never had before. That where I was from, you could go somewhere. I mean, people say that you know, some places you come from, West Bromwich you leave. You know, but it's great. So spurred by that, I then thought, okay, well, I'm going to go try for it. I'm going to try getting into comics. I'm going to push for it, and if I don't get it, I don't get it. I actually studied law at university, because my parents convinced me that quite rightly I should try and get a real job, because this is crazy. So I studied law for a couple of years, but luckily the university I was at was quite near London, so I could get the tube in and show my artwork to Marvel UK, show my artwork to 2000 AD, and gradually learn what was wrong with my artwork, get to meet other comic artists, because there used to be these Westminster Hall marts quite near Parliament, and they were on a Saturday every other month, and loads of the people that worked on 2000 AD stuff that worked on Marvel UK would go there and meet up for a drink. And so if you hung around long enough, you became part of the gang. So you know, it's like shuffling along with a pint in hand. It's like, yeah, can I join you? And I got known by these people. One of the guys I got known by was a guy called what's his name, Alan Moore. And
I swear I've heard that name.
yeah, anyway. But Alan managed to get me a story with Marvel UK. He'd written this comedy strip, which was a parody, sort of mad style parody of Daredevil, Frank Miller's run, called Dour Devil, Man Without a Sense of Humour, where he's blind but doesn't have any radar senses, and he's standing on a dead dog and thinks he's on a plush carpet in the Playboy Mansion. I think he's fantastic.
I have to look that up.
You look for it. It's online. But Alan took it in, and Bernie J, who was the editor at Marvel UK at the time, said, "Oh, this is funny," and Alan said, "Mike's drawing it." So that was it. And what that did for me was that one of the problems you have getting into any kind of industry is nobody will hire you until somebody's hired you. So once I finally got work with Marvel UK, it's catch-22. When I finally worked with Marvel UK, I could then go into 2000 AD and say, "Oh, well, look, you know, I've just sold a strip to Marvel. You know, I've met the deadlines, everything's fine. You know, got anything for me?" I got some Future Shock work off them, and my career started to build from there. I did some fanzine work before that, so my stuff was out there, and I could see how it looked in print, so that was great. And I learned what worked. Well, I still going home to West Bromwich, I used to go and visit a comic shop in Birmingham called Nostalgia and Comics. And the guy that ran the store, Phil Clark, was one of his assistants was running a fanzine called Masters Infinity. And he said, well, your local artist, you want to do some artwork for this? One of the other artists was a guy called Mark Farmer. And me and Mark met him because they, we're British, okay? Any excuse to go down to the pub, we will find it. So we're doing a fanzine, right? Pub? Okay. And got to know Mark, and we realised that my inking wasn't very good at all, and Mark had problems with storytelling. He said, well, why don't we just team up? So we ended up working as a team then, doing Pencil and Inker. In fact, we were pretty much the first in Britain to do that, because in British comics at that point, you were an artist, you were Pencil and Inker. So me and Mark were the first ones to go there as a team, and in the American style, and we got work off the back of that. And the first continuous amount of work I had was drawing Transformers.
I actually have a lot of friends who are big Transformers fans.
Oh, well, what happened with this is really bizarre around the houses kind of thing. Mark had got an art agent, because Mark could do painted work. I can do it, but I'm not as good as he was. And the art agent got in touch and said that Ladybird Books were looking for somebody to do a series of books featuring these toy robots. And Mark said, well, because we'd started working together, he said, well, do you want to do it between us? You lay it out and I'll paint it. Brilliant, we'll do that. At the same time, Marvel got the license to do Transformers. Marvel UK realised that they were always going to be ahead of Marvel US, because obviously they wanted to start at the same time to catch the bubble. So they needed to get new material. John Ridgway had done a couple of strips, and they realised that they wanted somebody who was immediately available, and somebody that maybe had a box of these toys in his house already. That's pretty much the reason I got Transformers, because I already had a box of toys, because Hasbro had sent me through this big box to do the Ladybird books.
He's just like, hello Megatron.
Yeah.
Hello Optimus. To battle!
Yeah, kinda.
Okay. So, what do you think is the best part about working in the comic industry?
Being 7 years old all day long.
Good. That's good in my opinion.
Yeah, there you go. I get to play with toys. I get to claim Star Trek phases as tax write-offs.
I love it. Don't tell the government.
No, it's research.
Alright, so if you could make your own hero, like own superpowers, own anything, what would they be? What would their name be? Like their powers?
Yeah, I can go on this one. I don't know, you kind of want to do something big, don't you? So, solve world hunger, create world peace, but you just know that whenever you try with that, you just make it worse. So, maybe something that just helps people cross the road really well.
I remember telling you my horribly bad one, Captain Huggles.
Well, there we go, see?
Because a news article posted that kindness is a genetic mutation.
Mm-hmm.
Who better to pick him up than Charles Xavier? But final question of the final question. What is some advice you could give to new people coming into comics?
Well, when I started, the only way you got in was by actually having an agent, which I never did, which caused problems with me getting work initially. But you worked in fanzines, you got your stuff printed out, and then you took it around comic shops, you took it around comic marts, and showed it to people, and then hopefully somebody picked up and saw it. But these days you've got the internet. The internet is your friend. And particularly DeviantArt.
I love DeviantArt.
Okay, comic publishers are constantly trawling through DeviantArt. They're looking for new artists. I mean, you've got me, 30 years in the business, which is frightening. But
you get paid for it, though.
I get paid for it, so hey, hell with it. Obviously, I'm not doing anything else now for the rest of my life. But they're always looking for new blood. They're always looking for that guy or that girl that's got that little different thing in their style. And if you're constantly posting your work on DeviantArt, if you've got web space and you put web comics up and link to it to Facebook or other social media, just get people to see, because they're always looking. If you can show you can do the work, get into small price stuff as well, because that's always good. What I've loved in the last few years coming to conventions here and back in the UK is the amount of people that basically have gone, okay, I'm not going to make any money out of this, but I want to tell the story, so I'm going to fund it myself, put it out there, and hopefully people will buy it. If they don't buy it, they won't Yeah, but if they do buy it, then maybe I'll get enough money to do the next issue. And that's fabulous as well. I mean, let's not forget, that's how Brian Michael Bendis died. He was doing his own comics. Marvel saw what he was doing, and now he writes everything.
Wow.
Yeah. So, basically, go for it. One of the things you've got to be very aware of is you have to have skin as thick as a rhinoceros, because you are going to be told what's wrong with your artwork. And what you've got to realise that criticism is also advice. And as long as you appreciate that and act on it, and don't think, well, you know, I'm really good and like you don't know nothing, is never going to cut it.
Well, many thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
And I hope to see you around the convention some more.
Okay.
Toots.
Bow.